They don't put in extra work. They don't go above and beyond to hone their skills, improve their game. This is a club. This is a get-together. This is a player meet and greet. This is a hangout, and the WNBA is just where they choose to hang out. And the NBA and the owners within the league, they're funding this hangout.
Look, the WNBA is in trouble right now. It's not about low ratings or fewer fans. This time, they're really worried about something else. The Unrivaled League is offering huge money to their biggest star, Caitlin Clark. That's a huge problem for them.
Can you feel it? Can you feel the panic reverberating throughout the WNBA dump? WNBA players think they have leverage. Key word, think. Now, in their defense, they do have leverage in the short term.
So for months, WNBA players have been complaining about really low pay, and this is while the league is making a ton of money, record revenues. Now their biggest fear is real. There's a new league that actually pays these women what they're worth.
Now, I don't know what to believe from financials, but they got a lot of money backing them from TNT Sports and a lot of investors. And word has it that they came within $10 million of breaking even their first season. That's damn sight a lot. That's damn sight a lot better than the WNBA's done ever.
Here's what happened. This new league, Unrivaled, it's a 3-on-3 startup. They've been in the news since January. They just finished their first season, and the numbers, they are absolutely wild.
Unrivaled will forever change the WNBA.
For sure.
And the way that they do business, the way that they treat their players, any agreement going forward. Unrivaled did things that were unprecedented. And I think it showed players their value, and players in that upcoming CBA are going to ask for everything. And I think that they're going to have to make something work if they want to see the product on TV, right?
So, Unrivaled players averaged $220,000. That was for just 8 weeks of play. Think about that. That's almost 3 times what the average WNBA player makes in a whole season. And then there's Caitlin Clark. She basically brought women's basketball back to life, but she's only making a tiny $78,166 in her second year with the Fever. Honestly, the difference is just insulting.
Essentially stalled for a new collective bargaining agreement in the WNBA. For the first time ever, WNBA players think they have leverage. Key word, think. Now, in their defense, they do have leverage in the short term. The problem is, if this short-term leverage is used and the 2026 WNBA season is canceled, it could have devastating long-term impacts on pretend basketball.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Unrivaled isn't just throwing money around randomly. They totally know what they're doing. The league president, Alex Bezel, said salaries will go up even more in 2026. Their first season blew past all their financial goals. They made over $27 million in revenue in year 1. They almost broke even, which is huge for a startup. Most new leagues lose millions. Now they're coming back for a second season, and they're clearly eyeing the one player who could change everything for them, the one who could make them a real rival to the WNBA.
I'm wondering, will the WNBA get within $10 million this season? I kind of doubt it, considering Caitlin Clark's missed, 13, 14 games or something like that? We saw ticket prices plummeted. We know the ratings have gone down in games that she's not involved with, which has drove the ratings down across the league. So I don't know.
The thing is, WNBA players are openly desperate right now. It's so clear. At the 2025 All-Star Game, every single player came out wearing black shirts. They said, "Pay us what you owe us." More than 40 players even showed up to a really tense meeting with league officials. That was the most players ever in a meeting. They've backed out of their current contract. Now they're demanding huge salary caps, like $45 million per team, and individual salaries up to $1 million. But here's the kicker. They're asking for this from a league that just lost $40 million, and that was in their most successful year ever.
In the All-Star Game, wearing "Pay us what you owe us" t-shirts, WNBA players whose salaries are subsidized by the NBA wear t-shirts declaring Pay us what you owe us. They must have thought this was a great idea. Oh, folks, we're really going to stick it to the owners. We are really going to stick it to the league. We're going to walk out in solidarity with a t-shirt that says, pay us what you owe us, and then they'll have no choice but to pay us what they owe us. Now, my question is, what exactly?
Now, the timing for Unrivaled couldn't be better. WNBA players are basically begging for money from a league that's bleeding cash. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is showing everyone that women's basketball can make money and pay players fairly. The difference is just shocking. It's almost embarrassing. Angel Reese won $50,000 just for winning the Unrivaled championship. That's more than 2/3 of her whole WNBA rookie contract. Plus, Paige Bueckers is set to make around $350,000 in her first year with Unrivaled. That's more than her entire 4-year WNBA rookie deal.
Is that Paige Bueckers' 10-week commitment to Unrivaled? 10-week commitment, 10 weeks to Unrivaled. She will make more in that first year than she will in the WNBA, where she's only projected to make $78,000. And I know there's still some haters, some unbelievers mad that women decided to bet on themselves, make this startup that is already putting the foot on the gas, right? Already making the WNBA look bad. I understand that. And they're wondering how they're paying for it. Well, Unrivaled made $1 million in ticket sales this year. Unrivaled made over $1 million in merchandise sales this year. And that's not even counting like the jersey stuff.
And now just imagine this. What if Caitlin Clark signs with Unrivaled for their 2026 season? Suddenly, Unrivaled would have the biggest star in women's basketball. Someone who sells out arenas and crashes streaming sites. But what if they don't stop there? What if Unrivaled decides to go from 3-on-3 to full 5-on-5 basketball? They've actually hinted at this already. Their executives have talked about moving to bigger arenas and changing the game format. Picture this, Unrivaled in 2027, it's a full 5-on-5 league. You've got Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Bueckers, and every other big star who's sick of the WNBA's low pay. They're playing in NBA arenas. They're on TNT, and they're paying salaries that actually show what these athletes are worth. Meanwhile, the WNBA is left with players who couldn't find a better deal. They're playing in half-empty arenas. Their former stars are selling out Madison Square Garden right down the street.
Alex Brazel, the co-founder of the 3-on-3 Women's Basketball League, composed of exclusively WNBA players, told Front Office Sports that the league has signed nearly 90% of its player pool for the 2026 season. Quote, "We have a few spots left open to fill, and then we're pretty much ready to go."
Listen, the WNBA's response to all of this, it's pure delusion. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert keeps talking about big changes and huge growth. But she's offering players the exact same revenue structure, the one that's kept them in poverty for 28 years. They're basically telling players, yeah, we know you're worth more, but we're gonna pay you less, just because. It's like trying to put out a house fire with a garden hose, while the actual fire department is parked right outside with better gear. But the most infuriating thing here, the WNBA had every chance to treat Caitlin Clark like the superstar she is, the one who could save their league. Instead, they let their own players turn her into a punching bag. They watched veterans cheap shot her, talk trash about her popularity. They even made her apologize for bringing attention to their own league. It's the most backwards business strategy ever. They actively sabotaged their biggest star, all because they were jealous of her success.
I've been telling y'all this. The league doesn't like Unrivaled. I'm tired of going back and forth with people that's no business would want you to work for them and then basically replicate their business and try to make it better and all that type of stuff. No business does that. So it baffles my mind how a lot of y'all sit back and think, oh, the WNBA loves Unrivaled. No, they don't.
Meanwhile, Unrivaled is treating players like gold. They're getting luxury apartments, personal chefs, childcare, recovery facilities. They even have a Sephora-sponsored glam room. Unrivaled gets it. Treating athletes like professionals is more than just a paycheck. It's creating an environment where they can really thrive on and off the court. What's the WNBA's idea of player care? Telling them to be grateful for charter flights that they only got after decades of complaining. The financial truth for the WNBA is just brutal. They talk about growth and popularity, but they're still losing money like crazy. The NBA has covered their losses for 28 years. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, and now they're asking for 50% revenue sharing. When they only own 42% of their own league, they sold off most of their control just to stay afloat, and now they want to negotiate like they're a profitable business. Compare that to Unrivaled. They raised over $35 million from real investors. They got a $100 million media deal with TNT. They landed huge sponsorships from Samsung, Ally Financial, and Miller Lite, and they still paid players more than any women's pro sports league in history. They're not begging the NBA for money. They're not making excuses about low pay. They're proving that women's basketball can totally work as its own business.
It continues to show that this league is where people want to be because they treat them right. They're providing the resources for them. They're promoting them the way they should be promoted. And that's what women's basketball players deserve. That's what women deserve. A lot of you may be wondering, well, why can Unrivaled do it and why can't the WNBA do it? The WNBA can do it, but you need to understand can and will and choose to are all different things.
The WNBA front offices must be absolutely panicking right now. They're watching their best players openly check out a competitor, one that offers better pay, better treatment, and better opportunities. Just look at Satou Sabally. She announced she's played her last game in Dallas and is looking for a new team. This happened right after she spent time with her former Oregon teammate Sabrina Ionescu in Unrivaled. It's not hard to connect those dots. But here's what should really terrify the WNBA. Unrivaled isn't even at full strength yet. They still don't have Caitlin Clark or Aja Wilson or several other megastars who could change everything overnight. They're already successful without the league's biggest draw, so imagine what happens when they start adding players who can double TV ratings and triple merchandise sales all by themselves. The clock is ticking on the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement too. They have until October to reach a deal with players, otherwise they risk the first work stoppage in league history. Now they're not just negotiating with their own players, they're competing with a league that's already proven it can do what the WNBA says is impossible: pay women's basketball players like the professionals they are.
Unrivaled is making moves. Unrivaled is making moves, and they making them in a major way, y'all. They are making moves in a major way. Unrivaled announced the signings of look, they're going and getting the young, popping, upcoming talent. WNBA, y'all better figure something out. Y'all better figure something out. Unrivaled is making moves. We already see the players talking about they are willing to strike. They want what they want. Pay us what you owe. Pay us what you owe.
What's crazy is, even WNBA legends are starting to question the league's whole approach. At the All-Star game, players wore those "Pay Us What You Owe Us" shirts, and the crowd, they literally started chanting, "Pay them." While Commissioner Engelbert was trying to hand out awards, the fans get it, the players get it. It seems like the only people who don't understand basic economics are the ones running the league. Plus, let's not forget the Caitlin Clark factor in all of this. Every single piece of data proves what anyone with eyes already knew. She is the WNBA's biggest draw by a massive amount. When she's healthy, Fever Games get 1.81 million viewers. When she's injured, that number drops to 47,000. That's a 53% drop. Every WNBA executive should be in emergency meetings over that. She's not just popular, she's irreplaceable. So, when Unrivaled comes calling with an offer that totally dwarfs her WNBA salary, why would she stay loyal to a league that treated her like a villain? The WNBA let veterans physically and verbally abuse their own meal ticket all season. Then they acted shocked when people started saying she might be better off somewhere else. That's just terrible business. It's the kind of thing that would get executives fired in any other industry.
Now, the WNBA has allowed players to play in off-season leagues for however long because they know that they are not paying them high enough salaries. Now, the goal of all the WNBA players, including Nafisa and Stewie, which is why they started Unrivaled, is to be able to pay the players more, give them livable wages, make it so they didn't have to go overseas, and I commend them for that. I think it's fantastic what they did with Unrivaled.
The beautiful irony here is that Unrivaled was co-founded by Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart. They're two WNBA veterans who just got tired of the league's excuses, so they decided to build something better. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't beg for handouts. They went out and raised money, got media deals, and built a league that actually values its athletes. This is entrepreneurship at its best. And it's making the WNBA look like something from the past, and this expansion to bigger arenas in a 5-on-5 format. That's not just talk, it's totally inevitable. Unrivaled has already proved they can make 3-on-3 work financially. The natural next step is to offer the full basketball experience that fans really want to see. When that happens, the WNBA's ability to compete completely disappears. They'll just be another league fighting for talent, except they'll be the one with the lowest pay, the worst treatment, and the worst business plan. This is what happens when you take your customers for granted for too long. The WNBA spent decades telling players to be grateful for whatever little they were willing to share. They never imagined someone would come along and actually treat these athletes like the valuable assets they are. Now they're facing a fight for survival from a league that figured out what they couldn't: how to make women's basketball profitable while paying players fairly.
WNBA is still under this major umbrella of the NBA, and a lot of that affects the way they do things. As long as the WNBA is in this 360 deal with the NBA, you're not going to see them promoting their players, paying their players, all the things that Unrivaled is able to do because they don't have that middleman.
The writing is on the wall. It's spelled out in dollar signs. It's everything the WNBA has failed to provide for almost 3 decades. Unrivaled isn't just offering more money, they're offering respect, equity stakes, a business model that actually grows with success. Not in spite of it, they're showing the world what the WNBA could have been if it was run by people who actually understood what they were selling. So here we are, watching the WNBA panic as everything comes back to haunt them. They had the greatest gift any sports league could ask for, a superstar who could carry an entire sport on her shoulders, and they let petty jealousy and bad management turn her into a problem. Meanwhile, Unrivaled is building the future of women's basketball, one well-paid athlete at a time. The question isn't if Unrivaled will keep growing and competing with the WNBA. The question is whether the WNBA will even exist in its current form, once players realize they don't have to accept poverty wages just to play pro basketball. The revolution isn't coming, it's already here, and it's on TNT, with good salaries and real respect for the athletes who make it all happen.